And now on to May, politics. I actually have quite a few here, although I have even more history, which I'll get to. I've got here, but I've got them in little piles. I've got here stuff on the East, politics of the East. I've got, those two random ones. History of conservatism. I've got stuff on oil. Stuff on, like, the States is going to hell, how can we fix it? That's a pile. And I've got here books that could have been political philosophy, but I don't think they're not quite philosophy. So how about we start with those ones? So here's the life and selected writings of Thomas Jefferson. I've been meaning to get some stuff on Jefferson. This is the first one I think I have on Jefferson. Edited by, well, a bunch of people, who cares. This is the Modern Library edition. First printed in 1944. So it's got all kinds of letters. So I guess the main stuff in here is it's got his autobiography, 100 pages of his autobiography, including the Declaration of Independence. So that's probably the best stuff. Then it's got here travel journals, essay on Anglo-Saxon, I don't know what that is, biographical sketches of famous men, okay. Notes on Virginia, that's about 90 pages of that, 100 pages. And then it's got all kinds of public papers, just tons of opinions and letters, got letters in here. So that's great. It's got some stuff to Thomas Paine here too, that's perfect. Alright, that's that one. Okay, here's, the 3 questions. Prosperity and the Public Good by Bob Ray. Bob Ray, who the hell is that, right? Well, he actually was a premier in Ontario. He's in NDP, which is in Canada, that's like the Socialist Party, the left of center. They used to be called the Socialist Party, but then they changed their name because they realized that, well, people in the West, well, geez, not so much anymore, but it had been for a time. There had been a time when socialists were ridiculed. Not so much anymore. They're just not called, they don't call themselves it anymore. They changed their name, but they're the same thing. Funny enough, this book is signed by Bob Ray, but I doubt it's a signature. It's probably fake. I got it for 50 cents, the book. And I imagine used bookstores are careful about looking through for signatures. I imagine it's fake, so I'm not even worried about that. But anyways, it's got some typical questions about, well, taxes and deficits and charity and health and all that stuff. So I'll see what the other side has to say. And here's a great one that I ordered specifically. Brand new. I guess they didn't sell as well as the author believed it would. But I watched this guy on YouTube, and he's a good proponent of the liberty movement, I guess. John Stossel, No They Can't. Why Government Fails but Individuals Succeed. You may think that this message is unnecessary, but unfortunately you have to pound these things in. The significance of the message is just not, it's not known. There has been a long-standing push for larger and larger government as the actor in our lives. Like that's a given. And so these kinds of books, I don't know. How much influence do books have anymore? That's a question. Okay, next I'll do is oil. This is a strange cover on this one. Oil and World Power. There's the, looks like a, I don't know if it's supposed to be like a Saudi Arabia genie guy or something, I don't know. It's 5th edition. People using this as a textbook? Why is it the 5th edition? Peter R. Odell. This is printed in 79. So it's about oil, world's oil industry, U.S. and world oil, Soviet oil development, major oil exporting countries, Japan, dependence on oil in the developing world. So that's great. I'll be glad to inform myself about that. Okay, here is, well, one guy that I watched YouTube on. I don't know what his name is anymore. If you watch my video where I talk about YouTube scholars, I mention his name. It's not Cropper. It's another guy, though. Well, here's the book. Crossing the Rubicon, The Decline of the American Empire and the End of the Age of Oil. This is by Michael C. Ruppert. This particular YouTuber called this book a conspiracy theory book. I don't know if that's true or not. It's printed in 2004, and then this one's printed in 2010. So I guess it's selling if they keep printing it. And let's see. Oh, peak oil. It says, peak oil and 9/11 are two such points that signal so profound a change in the course of world events that no one will remain unaffected. Well, certainly 9/11 has had an effect on the world that no one is unaffected, especially towards the reduction of civil liberties. But peak oil, did peak oil even happen? I don't think so. I don't think peak oil happened. There's been a huge increase of gas prices, but they've come down in Canada a bit, actually. They've come down about 20%, maybe over the last couple weeks, a month or so. I don't think the peak oil thing really happened. I think it was a fear, and it just didn't come to fruition. Okay, here's a good find. Mark Stein, After America. Get ready for Armageddon. This is printed in 2011. I got this for, I think it might have been $2. I think it might have been half price. It's listed for $4, but I think I got it for $2. Mark Stein, you may know Mark Stein. He almost had a book banned in Canada. He is fairly adamant about Muslim culture being a problem in the West. He also, I guess he sometimes is on the Rush Limbaugh show. He co-hosts, or not co-hosts, but he fills in, I guess. Anyways, he is certainly part of the old British Liberty movement, and he is pretty a caustic writer. So I'm glad to have a look at his stuff. Okay, next will be the West, or the U.S. is going to hell and what we can do about it. I think all these books I got for like $1. This pile here. Madeleine Albright, Memo to the President. You probably have seen that face before. I bet you have. New updated edition. This was printed in 2008. It's unfortunate that I can get a book like this for $1.50 or something when it was printed in 2008. The subtitle is How We Can Restore America's Reputation and Leadership. So it's got a bunch of chapters in here about all kinds of stuff to get the states back on track, I guess. It looks to be critical of the Iraq War, and I guess also criticizing who in the Middle East the United States allies with. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see opinions, all kinds of opinions. The more opinions you read, you can form a better one for yourself, right? Okay, here's To Lead the World, American Strategy after. American Strategy after the Bush Doctrine. Bush Doctrine, are they using a harsh term for a reason there? 2008, Oxford University Press. These a bunch of professors writing about politics, or I don't know. I don't really know the names. Doesn't seem to be anyone that catches my mind here. I don't know who the authors are. But anyways, we'll see what they have to say about these kinds of topics. More topics. In education, which is kind of I guess it's the field I'm in, graduate field I'm in. Education, at least in Canada, and I imagine in the States too, in universities, they are very, very critical and just hate the Bush No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind, I would probably put money on the fact, which would be hard to verify. Every time I've seen No Child Left Behind mentioned anywhere in an article, in a book, it's always to say that, look, this was a disaster. Every single time. No one says it was a good thing. Not one person. Bush in general is ridiculed, really. Bush Jr., I guess. And I also have heard him once called Bush, the recent Bush Jr., was called the most socialist Republican that the United States ever had. I haven't heard that before, but maybe, I don't know, is it true? Okay, here's the next one. You may know this guy, but I don't. Michael Savage. Does he have a radio show? I think he has a radio show. Trickle Up Poverty. Stopping Obama's attack on our borders, economy, and security. What you can do to fight back. And visit his website. So here is 2010. Another opinion that's pretty anti-Obama. Apparently Obama has Marxist-Leninist roots. There's one thing there for you. Healthcare stuff. Legalizing illegals. I don't know what that is. Acorn stuff. War on the military. Obama's war on the military. And then there's the Savage Manifesto. Borders, language, culture, and economics. I can't imagine what's going to be in there. Okay, last one in this little pile. Crimes against liberty. An indictment of President Barack Obama by David Limbaugh. Is that Rush Limbaugh's brother or something? I don't know. I think it might be, because I thought I read that in here. I thought it said that. 2010. Well, another anti-Obama book. It's got in here, well, typical stuff, I guess. Crimes Against the People. The Narcissist. Crimes Against Statesmanship. Well, Betraying Israel. Crimes Against America's Ally. Well, there are some people who think that we should just, or well, I shouldn't say we. The U.S. government should just get the hell out of policing the world and getting rid of their military bases. Stop defending Israel and Germany and Japan and subsidizing all their stuff. Yeah, another anti-Obama book, though. All right. Next section is East. Politics of the East. Here's Japan as number 1. Lessons for America by Ezra F. Vogel. This was printed in 1979, so you may know that after World War II, Japan was nuked during World War II, and afterwards, America made a deal with them. They established a new government, and they put a military base on Japan, and now I believe it's still the case that Japan is not allowed to have a certain size of military, and the States provides the rest. I don't know if they pay them for that or what, because that seems ridiculous. Why would you go and send troops over to Japan to defend them? That's a cost. Why would you, do that? I don't know. Anyways, this is the book about Japan and about some things that we can learn from Japan. So, I'm glad to have that. Okay, here's The Coming Anarchy by Robert K. Kaplan. Shattering the Dreams of the Post-Cold War. This was printed in 2000. So, this book, I believe this is the case. After the fall of the Soviets, there was a belief that world peace was, the fall of the Soviets was the end of a worry that the world would be, there'd be like a nuclear war and the world would end. Once the Soviets were gone, there was a feeling that we've accomplished it. The world will be always at peace. We have perpetual peace. And he says here that tomorrow's world will emerge. This book explains how tomorrow's world will emerge from today's. At a time when all too many leaders and thinkers are entranced by visions of perpetual peace and utopian prosperity, Kaplan reminds us that while countries can succeed or fail at power politics, none can afford to ignore its imperative. And it also mentions that Cold War prosperity will not last forever. So it looks interesting. I think it might also mention that this is probably going to sound strange. I think he probably is going to argue that, in a sense, peace requires that one have a strong military. Kind of similar to the old, what do you call it, an aphorism or saying, that good fences make good neighbors, saying that world peace is going to require guns and nuclear weapons, in the sense that if you disarm yourself, you will be run over. So, interesting. I think that'll be a good one. Okay, the last one for this little pile. Bowing to Beijing. How Barack Obama is... So this is another anti-Obama book for $1. How Barack Obama is hastening America's decline and ushering a culture of Chinese domination. Timely, considering the North Korea stuff's going on right now. It's strange. I would have thought that China would not have allowed North Korea to start this crap. Why would China want the U.S. to bring over a whole bunch of aircraft carriers to sit in the ocean there by Japan? The Americans being in Japan and being in Vietnam, I believe, they probably still are, and in South Korea is enough. Why would China want more U.S. troops over there? So you would think the North Korean thing wouldn't have happened at all. You would think North Korea is in the back pocket of China. Obviously not, it would seem. This was printed in 2011. I heard something like foreign aid is given, the States gives foreign aid to North Korea to feed their population, and yet they're going to have this missile crisis thing? Ridiculous. Anyways, foreign aid is a pretty ridiculous topic. Why is it happening? Yeah, let's send shoes and food, and let's destroy all local business possible in foreign countries by just sending them free stuff. Does that make sense? How the hell are farmers and shoemakers, etc., supposed to survive and start a business and start employing people and beginning the prosperity of their country and their economies when we send them free stuff? It doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. Okay, here's a couple random. These were also $1.50, I think. Supreme Court, Supreme Conflict. The Inside Story of the Struggle for Control of the United States Supreme Court by John Crawford Greenburg. This was printed in let's see, 2007 and 8. I've got another book on this U.S. Supreme Court, so I'm kind of interested in it because I figured that, like, the U.S. Constitution, right, it's supposed to be upheld, well, it's supposed to be upheld by the people, but the people don't care. The Supreme Court is supposed to uphold the Constitution, and yet, who hires the Supreme Court? Aren't they all appointed by the President? So, that's not possible. You can't have a disinterested Supreme Court if they're all appointed by the President. And the President is perhaps the one who most would like to subvert the Constitution. So let's have that guy hire the Supreme Court. Let's have that guy appoint the Supreme Court. Yeah, that makes sense. That's great. Good job, United States. Anyways, just some pictures in here with some of the top people. Yeah, anyways, I'm interested about the Supreme Court. And hopefully someone can disprove that thesis of mine, because I don't know how that works. The erosion of the Constitution is inevitable if you've got Supreme Court, the defenders of the Supreme Court, in bed with the one who most wants to subvert the Constitution. Okay, here's Midnight on the Line. Midnight on the Line. The Secret Life of the U.S.-Mexico Border by Tim Gaynor. This was printed in 2009. I'm interested in the drug trade across the border. What do you think would happen if they ended the drug war? They made, even if they made marijuana legal in the States, what do you think would happen? There would be a massive reduction of crime in the States. You know who the first to the table the first to the lobby table is going to be underground gangsters and mafia types who bootleg drugs. Those are the first to the table to lobby for laws to make things illegal, because that's their business, to traffic illegal stuff. It's just hilarious. It's hilarious how long it's going for. Although I guess there are some states that now make it legal. Anyways, this is on the border policing, so we'll have to see. Interesting. Why is the Mexican border so different than the Canadian border? Does it come down to the roots of the cultures? What are the roots of the cultures? You may want to have a look at Hernando de Soto's book called The Mystery of Capital for the answer. The Spanish roots of Mexico and the British roots of Canada and the States. They have generated completely different places. Okay, the last pile for politics is on history of conservatism, I think. Here's Conservatism, a Guide. It's past, present, and future in American politics. This is by Dean Smith. Introduction. This is probably one of the main reasons I picked this up. Introduction by Senator Barry Goldwater. You may know that the objectivists and Ayn Rand they really tried to promote Barry Goldwater as U.S. president. I don't know who he was against. I don't think it was Bush Sr., was it? The first time Bush Sr.? I'm not sure. He might have been earlier than that. So I don't know. But anyways, that's the main reason why I got this. But there's also some information here about Jefferson, the Whigs, and the Republicans. So this will be a nice little history book, but it's in politics. What do you do with a history? Where do you put the more books I get, the more I have problems putting them in shelves. What do you do with the history of politics? Is it history or politics? I put it in politics. I was thinking, at one point I thought I would have the kind of text, the method of the text is the shelf. So if it's a history of, then it should be on history. So a history of banking or a history of printing press. They'll all be on history. So history of, I've got history now here on this shelf. History of the civilization, or Canadian War history, or whatever, right? You put that in history. But then I was also thinking, but really the subject should be the shelf. So if it's a history of banking or a history of conservatism, then that should be on the politics shelf. But the problem is, if you do it that way, though, you have millions of shelves, because then you've got a history of the American Civil War, then that should be a shelf. Or the history of Africa, then you need an African shelf. But I can't do that. I've got stuff on Britain up top there that's sort of on its own. So shelf on Britain, I've got history of Britain and stuff like that in there, and it's a pain. Okay, here's The Right Nation. The Right Nation. Conservative Power in America by John Micklethwalt and Adrian Woodridge or Woldridge. This was printed in. This is recent. This one was $1.50 or whatever. 2004. It's a book on the history of conservatism. What else does it say? It's got. It's not too. Doesn't get into too old of stuff. It starts from. Looks like about the mid-50s. But anyways, it's something to flip through. It's something to, it's also something to use to compare opinions on different eras. One chapter here that I think will be interesting is it says the roots of American exceptionalism. You always hear that, right? Even I think Obama says that. American exceptionalism. Why is America so different? So, do they take pride? Do they take pride in the lie? Like, what is it? It'd be interesting. They used to be exceptional. Intellectual origins. Last one for politics. Last one. Intellectual origins of America's radicals. American radicalism. New edition. This is by Stein, Lynd. This is actually, this is an old book, but it's been reprinted. This is like a classical book on the topic. Let me just see what the year is. So it was first printed in '68, and now this is 2009. So there's, what's nice about this book is the chapters are principles, and that's how it defines the American exceptionalism. So, for example, chapter 1 is that truths are self-evident, or some truths are self-evident. Truths as self-evident. Chapter 2, certain inalienable rights. So this is kind of like the structure of the argument, you could say. Those are the theory pieces. And then it also has a praxis piece, praxis section. The earth belongs to the living. Cast your whole vote. My country is the world. So, I think that'd be interesting. It's got lots of quotes, that's for sure. So, perfect. Okay, that's it for politics for May.